Studies program, and she's going to discuss service projects including the collection SWAT team, Sustaining Places project, and her work with the museum and library services. Our second speaker today is Dr. Kasey Grier, who has just stepped down, I believe, as Assistant Dean of the College of Agriculture, as a professor at the Delaware Biotechnology Institute and a plant scientist. And she works on symbiosis between plants and mycorrhiza. And she'll be speaking about her outreach work with 4-H and other kind of groups today. So thank you both very much, and we're delighted you joined us. Thanks.
So thank you for coming. This is a fairly homely PowerPoint presentation. Lots of text. There'll be pictures towards the end. But that's because I have a lot of material that I want to cover in a short time, and I thought I'd make it easy for you to sort of follow or take notes if you choose. So let me give you some background on the Museum Studies program. We actually were founded in 1972. We've been around for a long time as a certificate program. There's two approaches to training for professional work in museums. One is a degree that is in museum studies, and the other is a certificate approach where the students stay in their home disciplinary department, right? They learn what they become trained in their disciplines, and then they do this certificate, which gives them sort of a basic framework that helps them get their first job, and gets them to see that they are part of a national and international network of practice, gives them some hands-on experience, helps them develop a small portfolio, and helps them get launched into that world if that's the kind of employment that they want to seek. So we are a certificate program of 12 credits that's open to any fully matriculated graduate student. Right now, we've had plant and science and soil science in the past. We don't have those folks right now. But we have students from history, the Center for Historic Architecture and Design, the Winter program, the Longwood program, and fashion and apparel studies right now. So that's the cohort that we have right now. Sometimes we have folks from other areas come in. We've had people from the School of Education and other kinds of areas, and everybody's welcome. Everybody's welcome. So we're located administratively in the Department of History, and at the moment we've identified about 600 graduates, over 600 graduates of the program. When I took it over, we were moving from a paper system to an online system, and we discovered we did not have good tracking of our alumni. So this is what we think we have right now, or we're pretty close to knowing that's what we have right now. We're anticipating we're going to find, we're looking for people, and we think we're going to find some more of them. There are 34 students presently enrolled in the program. This spring we'll have 12 or 14 students who receive their certificates. Most of them are Master of Arts students, although we have an increasing number of doctoral students who are going for the certificate as well. I became director in 2008, and my staffing is, we are a small shop. We're a boutique program, and our sense is that we're about the right size. We're able to support the students that we have. We're able to help them look for jobs. We're able to sort of do custom work with them, help them adapt the curriculum. For example, we have 2 Longwood students who are graduating from the program this spring. There is, in the College of Agriculture, there is a course on curatorship of plant collections, and we will count that towards the Museum Studies certificate. So that allows us to sort of work with people individually and figure out a program that makes sense for them. So our staffing is me, a half-time staff assistant, a graduate assistant, an array of adjunct faculty who are working museum and library professionals. We receive our administrative support from the Department of History, and we also have 2 additional graduate assistants right now who are attached to a federal grant that I'm running, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. So our core value is that our professional training should be through service and outreach. And we do that by one of the things that I know from having been in the museum world myself is that people who are doing hiring from the museum community want people who know how to work in teams, okay, who know how to, who have had some hands-on experience so that they understand what the real meaning is of the work, right? What day-to-day work is like. You know, who are able to sort of adapt from academic knowledge to sort of the practical hands-on kind of knowledge. So we did a curriculum rethink starting in 2008, 2009. We're still working on it. We retained an existing internship requirement. We made a few changes to that, which I can talk about if you're interested. And then we worked to add service and outreach components to most of our courses. And that I worked with our adjunct faculty. I was rebuilding the adjunct faculty at that point, and I brought in people I knew who were willing to do practicum projects with area cultural organizations. The other thing we did was we created a weekly e-postcard called Muse Weekly. We decided that we wanted, as we started to become of service to the field, we realized that there was actually, even at the level of the National Alliance of Museums, or the American Alliance of Museums, that there was actually not a good clearinghouse of information on conferences, calls for papers, workshops, internships, paid internships, and also employment opportunities. That there were employment opportunities listed in a variety of places, but we thought we could do it better. And so we created a weekly e-postcard called Muse Weekly. It comes out weekly during the semesters and every other week during vacations and summertime. And this currently reaches about 2,700 recipients directly, and we know that it's getting circulated around quite a bit, so I would estimate that our reach is twice that. I know I met somebody from Alaska recently who gets it, and she actually has posted jobs and internship opportunities on it, and as a result has received applications from the lower 48 that she might not have received otherwise. In fact, we've sent several students up to her, up to Alaska to do internships, and in one case it led to a student falling in love with Alaska and staying, and now she works for a museum in Fairbanks. So that was something that we do. We also created the Collection SWAT Team project. We piloted that in 2010, and I'll talk about that in more detail in a moment. And then in 2011, we received a grant called Sustaining Places from the Institute for Museum and Library Services, which is a federal agency. And the idea of this grant was to enhance regional small historical organizations, of which there are many, 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 many. And that we would also try to connect students with them, that we would provide training. We'd also give the students to have opportunities to help create resources for small museums, to put their knowledge to work. And we also used it for some other activities to support small places. And we have a partner organization associated with that. So our practicum courses right now are Museum Studies 601, the Curatorship and Collections Management, and whenever that course is offered, they adopt a regional museum, a local small museum, and they do collections management work for them. They, for example, went to the Newark Historical Society and discovered that the collection was, you know, in cardboard boxes on the floor, and one of the things that they did was they built them a new storeroom. So they've worked with a number of organizations. Education and Public Programs will work with groups to do visitor studies, create lesson plans. They did, for example, visitor studies for the University Botanical Garden to get a sense about who the visitors were. Archives and Paper Collections does archival management projects for local repositories. This semester, they are working with the Cecil County Historical Society, and they're creating a policy document for management of a 40,000-item photography collection, as well as developing finding aids for smaller collections. Each student has a small collection. Forthcoming in the next 2 years, I'm anticipating that we're going to be developing an exhibitions practicum. That's a little more complicated, so it's taking a little bit more work. And the digital museum practicum. We have a course on that right now, and I want to add a second course where we are doing things like building a website or digital lesson plans or something like that for a small organization. Our intro course, the professional development part of it, has to do internally with students developing themselves. We develop an e-portfolio. We give them public speaking experience. This year, we're going to do applications and cover letters. So we're working in that intro course on helping them begin to think about self-presentation right from the beginning, as soon as they enter the program. So let me tell you about the collection SWAT team. This is the collection SWAT team, and actually the first day of our project in January. And this is at the Upper Bay Museum in Northeast Maryland, which is a great museum. You need to go see it. And that is a giant collection behind them of oars for Chesapeake Bay boats, all of which are very, very long. So, so this is the group. And the idea behind the SWAT team is that it was a response to the Delaware Division of Libraries, which did a Connecting to Collections survey funded by the Institute for Museum and Library Services. They looked at 80 historical societies in the state, 80 historical organizations in the state of Delaware, and they visited 40 of them. An unintended outcome, the intent of this was to assess readiness and need for disaster planning. But what they learned, they had an unintended outcome. They learned that 80% of the collections in the state lacked a basic inventory. No one knew what they had. And you can't really do disaster planning when you don't even know what's in your collection. So this pulled everybody up short, and it certainly was something that it really caught my attention. And we decided that special weapons and tactics were needed in order to address this problem. So I had this moment of inspiration, and in all likelihood, I hate to say it, was probably in the shower, when a lot of that stuff seems to come to me when there's water pouring down on my head. But I had a moment of inspiration, and I thought, we should do something about this. And January is a moment where most graduate students they want to stay home for 8 weeks, right? They come back to Delaware, and unless they're, at least in history and in some of these related areas, unless they are advanced doctoral students and they're teaching a class, they're kind of a little bit at loose ends. Well, I have this answer for that. So what I thought was it would give us a chance for them to do some problem solving and skills practice. If we could start to adopt an organization every January and do a project and do some kind of collections management project to deal with this inventory issue. So we started with 6 students. I started with 6 students, and the pilot site was the Corbett Calloway Memorial Library in Odessa, Delaware, which has a thing called the Delawareana Collection. I don't know if any of you have been there. Have you been to the Delawareana Collection? And so we inventoried and marked the 3D collections, including Delaware furniture, Delaware pottery, a number of things. We did a scanning project for historical postcards in the collection, and we did an inventory of their map collection. And we worked for 2 weeks, 4 days each week. And that became the prototype, because what we realized is that a 4-day week is good because it gives us a day on Friday. It gives for everybody to regroup for the next week's work. 5 days straight would be hard on everybody. The proof of concept was attained from this. They were happy with the results. We were happy with the results. We subsequently refined the concept. We really don't do collection scanning and stuff like that. Now what we do is management and care focus, which means basic inventory, marking objects, creating catalog records, photographing them, teaching the staff how to use a database. There's one database in particular that is widespread for small museums called Past Perfect. So we'll do training in Past Perfect for them. And we also clean. We spend a lot of time cleaning, especially me. I'm the one, because I'm sort of moving around among the groups anyways. And we dust, we clean, and things look a lot better when we leave than when we arrived. So the first year we paid for it ourselves. The second year, the Delaware Division of Libraries had some funding for us to pay for the project and we worked at the Laurel Delaware Historical Society. And that's where we also developed a couple of the other techniques that we used. We developed what we call a marking kit that has all the archival supplies that you need to mark collections properly. And we have one that we own, and we give them one. We teach them how to use everything in it, and then we leave this toolbox with them, and they've got all the stuff they need. So we did, our second year was in Laurel Historical Society, and then years 3 through 5, we just did our 5th anniversary one in Upper Bay. We're funded through the IMLS Sustaining Places grant. So here's a summary of student involvement for 2010-2014. So 54 graduate students. Now some of that counts people who've been 2 years. I just couldn't get them all broken out. But 54 graduate students and 2 undergraduates have been involved with that, along with 2 staff each year, Tracy, my staff assistant, and me. We've done 5 organizations, 3 in Delaware, 1 in New Jersey, 1 in Maryland. The total student on-site hours are estimated at almost 3,000 now. So it's a significant time investment, and it makes a major difference for these organizations to have somebody come in and give them 700 or 800 hours of work. That's a really significant investment in time, and what it does is it gives them a boost on projects that often look like they're sitting at the bottom of a mountain and they're paralyzed. And what we do is give them a boost, and then that seems to motivate them so that they can kind of keep moving after that point. After 2011, I introduced a project planning and selection committee among the students. So they actually are much more involved in planning the project now, and they also select the site that we're going to do. We have a self-publication process that we publicize, and then we also, students co-author the final report. And I've got a really nice, this is a poster about SWAT 2013, that when we were in the Vineland Historical and Antiquarian Society in Vineland, New Jersey, that we took to a conference. So these 2 are posters from conferences. And I have a couple of examples of SWAT final reports. We create this final report where we summarize our work for them, and then we make recommendations about next steps. Do they need to buy equipment? Do they need to do X? Stuff like that. So in 2011, we received a 3-year grant from IMLS's 21st Century Museum Leadership Program in a partnership with a group called the Tri-State Coalition of Historic Places. And the idea was that we were going to do training and create resources for small historical organizations in the region. We realized that there were real issues associated with not just collections care, but with a lot of other things as well. The sustainability of many of these organizations is in doubt unless they can, for example, build better volunteer programs. So we've been doing workshops on assessing your volunteer program and how to get more volunteers as one of many kinds of topics we've been working on. So this has a couple of elements. We have workshops for small historical organizations. We have funding to support the SWAT team. We have this wonderful website that's turning out to be very popular, where we're creating online resources and also finding and putting in one place online resources for small historical organizations. And we also have, I forgot to add this, a media and collection care lending library, so that these guys can check out cameras and tripods and podcasting stations. We're training them on how to do podcasting. They can also check out laptops if they need them. They can also check out one of the most popular things are what are called variable speed HEPA vacs, and these are you can use for dusting collections safely and cleaning collections items. And then we also have a library of professional development books. So we have a system set up for people to check things out. The most popular things right now have been the podcasting stations and the variable speed HEPA vacs have been the 2 most popular items. So student involvement in sustaining places, again, this is, we want them to sort of build a variety of skills. So we've had 2 graduate assistants each year for 3 years. One of them is providing workshop and administrative support, is also working on the website, and one of them is a webmaster. So they're getting some really good experience in how to organize workshops, how to handle registrations, how to edit video, all kinds of things associated with that. We also now in 2014, we've actually started having students lead some of the workshops. And I think that's really terrific, a really terrific experience for them, is to actually get them involved in training. They can attend the workshops for free. We also have students developing content for the website. They're developing narrative PowerPoints, videos, bibliographies, and other material for the Sustaining Places website. So what's the future for us? Well, we're seeking funding for a second round of Sustaining Places with a more specific focus on Delaware and helping to revive the Delaware Association of Museums. It's a group that keeps trying to get itself off the ground, and what happens is they need some support, while the board needs support for daily operations, which would be great training for a grad student, while they work on building a sustainable funding model. They need a respite on operations so that they can focus on fundraising. So that's what we're hoping to help with them. We will also continue the website and a number of other activities. And we will maintain our partnership with Tri-State on the lending library. We want to continue with collection SWAT. We've already got a couple of nominees for 2015 from Delaware, so we really want a Delaware site for 2015. We're also seeking funding to endow internships to allow students to have paid summer positions with small organizations, because right now that's a problem. You know, they're having trouble coming up with money, although I'm going to insist that they match it, even if it's at a low level. They need to invest financially for it in order to be serious. And what we'll do in those cases is set them up with a professional mentor and advisor who's outside the organization, who will do it as a professional service. And then we're going to continue with our practical focus for the courses. So, you know, sign up for Muse Weekly, just to get a sense about what's going on. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter. We try to maintain a pretty strong social media presence. And what's happened is we're building a pretty sizable community of museums who are now in touch with each other. And let me just show you real quickly before we go, just a couple of pictures of the SWAT team at Upper Bay so you can see the work that people were doing. So these are cataloging sheets that will eventually be added into data entry. Yeah, we've got that nice grappling hooks and things like that. Unfortunately, this is a little dark, but this place was an old fish house, and as they've collected things, they've just gone up the walls. And so what happened is we stopped cataloging at objects at about 10 feet up. We just wouldn't go up the ladder that high. So there's actually objects up above that what you're seeing there. And we were done. This is where we stopped right there, because we just can't, you can see a better view over there. It's a visible storage museum. Everything is on display, which actually makes it really cool. So this is one of the activities, was preparing for cataloging and cleaning a period room that was a decoy shop. And it was filthy, among other things, and also completely uncatalogued. So we took it apart. Some of our students, in fact, the person who led that team, Nicole, is sitting right there. They took it apart, they photographed it all in situ, they took it apart, they cleaned it, they cataloged it, they numbered it, and then they put it all back in where it was before. And it was really quite amazing how much better it looked. This is cataloging, marking, and photography of getting ready to work. They're working with miniature decoys there. And ignore that tea bottle, that's not supposed to be on a table. And afterwards, after I took the picture, I went, hey, get rid of that. So. This is teaching volunteers to catalog. One of the things that we do is we actually work with the volunteers at these organizations to enhance their skill sets so that they can keep on working. And so they're learning how to catalog. You can see how we're bundled up. The heat quit in the building. And it was cold last January. So we were cataloging in gloves and jackets. And then this is the data entry team. We tried to keep them warm because their fingers got really stiff. There's Elizabeth sitting there looking very intently at but they eventually sort of got the heat going again, but man, it was cold in there. So, but actually that's part of the fun, I think, in the end, is that people really enjoy those kinds of experiences working together. So, so that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So.
Let's take one or two questions for Kasey. Let's take her, please.